I'm here to talk about pay equity in the United States, where we're making progress, but not as much as we should be, and there are models in other countries where women are actually doing a bit better financially, and certainly much better in the world of politics in other countries. And so I'm going to make the presentation that particularly under the Obama administration, women are making tremendous strides, but it wasn't so under prior administrations. In fact, we fell back a little bit, and we want to look to European models to see how other nations have already had female presidents, have large presence of women in their parliaments, and why that hasn't been the case in the United States.
I think I would like to share my experiences and hope to get some ideas how to better conquer this challenge we have ahead of us, and how we can actually coach young women to have a little bit an easier time as we had it.
Do you have a coaching program at Immune AG?
We have a private coaching program in my own company, as well as I'm coaching lots of young women at the university in Lausanne.
I'm very happy to be part of this because Annabelle is the magazine in Switzerland dealing with women topics and taking care not only about fashion and shoes and everything, accessories, but also about what's going on with women's lib or with all the things women take care of. So I think this here is a very, very interesting chance to exchange things that happen in America compared to things that happen here. Maybe we know something American women should know, and maybe the American women know something we should know here in Switzerland.
I came here today mostly as a storyteller, since I've written 3 best-selling books, and I think anecdotally. And what I really came to talk about today as an American living in Switzerland is the myth that everybody in Europe is much more progressive. And I came into Switzerland to find, for a country that creates watches, they're as behind the times, if not more so, than American in its treatment of women, from the way store hours are kept open only until 6 o'clock, closed at lunchtime, to the progressive laws in terms of reproductive rights, in terms of child care, in terms of equal pay. And actually, we have more in common than we have differences on that front. And we're sort of fighting the same battles. I hope to talk about this today with a degree of humor, because that's always helpful in dealing with this.
I mean, I firmly believe, and this is also based on Catalyst research, that we need to begin to address the informal culture. So I think we've made some headway in terms of the recognition that this is a business issue. There's compelling data to substantiate that point. I think more and more companies recognize that their ability to attract and retain talent is a business driver. But fundamentally, to enact the sorts of changes in mentality and mindset, you need to ensure that people know how to manage diverse talent effectively. And I think that is the last hurdle, is that, to the extent that we continue to perpetuate gender-based assumptions, informal biases, even the notion in terms of diversity of thought process, the problem is that gender becomes code for diversity. We hear the word leadership, we think men. We hear the word diversity, we think women. So even if we go into this issue embracing inclusive leadership styles, the fact of the matter is that physically apparent differences trigger perceptions of talent.
So Geneva is an organization specialized in working with armed groups, because most of the conflicts today are internal conflict involving one or several armed groups. And we discovered that many combatants in these armed groups are women combatants. So we work with them about the respect of humanitarian norms, humanitarian principle, to ask them to advocate for better respect of the civilians and of the population. And also we work with them to help these women to be part of peace process, because usually they are excluded, and they need to be trained to know how we deal around a peace table. So this is our work.
So we have this tool which is quite interesting. It's called LOGIP, Lohngleichheitsbund instrument, and it enables the companies to monitor their pay equity and to make sure that there is no gap, no gender gap. So it's a very practical tool. It's very easy to use. It's free of charge. There are many companies which have used this tool, but there are not so many which say the results. Maybe because the result is not totally equal, but so they know exactly where the situation is and what they have to do in order to comply with the Gender Equality Act.
The culture is fundamental. Without the right culture, we won't see the change. Because what we don't want is to have diversity in place as a numbers game, so that we have 2 women at the top today, but tomorrow, if they leave, we have the gap again. So what we want is a culture that naturally leads to having women at the top. So whatever day it is, whatever year it is, there will always be women there, because it's a natural outcome of the way things are.
Well, actually, I'm going to talk about my own experience as a woman trying to work away in the world, and where I see us today, and compared to where it was when I started, and where we need to go from here. There's a lot of ground to cover yet, and in some ways, this conference is so important, because I hear a lot of things that we've been talking about for 20, 30 years, and we're still stuck in the same place. And yet, on the other hand, there have been significant gains. So it's how to balance those and continue to make progress. I want to talk about organizing a little bit, because I think we need to do a better job of organizing.
Well, first of all, I think the conference is a great idea. Not only that women who are interested in the same issue get a chance to network, but we get a chance to hear what everybody else is doing to contribute to the issue of women's advancement.
And what are the next steps that you would like to see coming out of this conference?
I would like to see us take all these great ideas back to wherever we live and work, and try to implement some of them and promote them at home and abroad.
I think it's been a really terrific conference. As a mother of 2 boys and a young girl, I'm excited about the opportunity to exchange ideas with women leaders, both here in Switzerland and in the United States, and how we can continue to be leaders and examples for all of our children. I picked up on the idea that it was important to show our young boys, but it was also important to show our daughters as well, that we can do it all, but that we can do it all in different ways. And so I think we heard a lot of examples today about women that just went straight up and did it in sort of the traditional way. And I think there's also sort of new ideas now, and even a new generation coming up that's asking perhaps for even more, and perhaps that is the way that we can start to forge new opportunities for women. So I found it very exciting.
First, let me tell you that I'm really glad to be here. I'm delighted to have been invited to such a conference, and I think it's really interesting, fascinating to hear about all the experiences, really concrete experiences also of women who made it, who on various positions, on economic side, on political side also. And so I really like also the outcome, the concrete outcome of what I heard. Concrete, I think what's interesting is to finally know how similar things still are in the countries, how the United States and Switzerland are finally not that different in what concerns women. And I think it's really important that also the companies really focus on concrete steps concerning diversity. As it's really important also diversity in the corporate for companies, as we all need really good people in the companies, and we will have a lack of good people coming in the future. So it's really important to focus and to have more women in leadership positions. What I expect is now also to have the good things from both countries to leverage, to look what can we learn from Switzerland, from the United States, and maybe what can the United States learn from the experience we have in Switzerland.
The conference is an amazing collection of brain power from Switzerland and the United States and some other countries, which I think is a great opportunity to come together and talk about this important issue. I'm hoping that what comes out of this is a collaboration and sharing of some of the ideas that work, both in different segments of our society, for example, business or military, where there are glass ceilings, but also across cultures. As Western countries, we share the same basic goals and we share the same thoughts about human rights. So we should be sharing the same thoughts about how to have prosperous economies in our own countries in the future, and I think that involves really being able to help women advance in their careers.
It's been a pleasure attending the conference today, and what I've been most impressed by is the statistics that they've shared in terms of gender equality here in Switzerland, as well as in America and other developing countries. And I think that's been very interesting for us to understand how we can learn from countries that are doing better than we are in America in terms of reducing the gender gap. And I think the discussions have been focused on different ideas and ways we can collaborate between the two countries. So it's been fascinating to learn about the differences in the countries and also hopefully take back this information to America so we can all work together to reduce the gender gap.